Before I even get started on Texas Tech, I just want to take a second to congratulate Tina Thompson on her obviously ensuing induction into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. Just a unbelievable honor and well-deserved, and I think we all feel blessed to have Tina a part of the Longhorn family, so congrats to her. Tech, I think that it's a game that I personally always look forward to, just because I do understand the tradition of this rivalry, and one that I remember really, really well as an assistant here. So it's always a game that I anticipate both teams feeling anxious about, just because a lot of Texans typically on both teams, and you kind of feel that when you get ready to play each other. So I expect it to be a competitive game.
If this game does turn out like the one in Lubbock, are there things you would look for your team to work on, aside from winning, obviously, and meeting a standard? Or are there things like in a game like that that you would say, okay, let's work on this or that?
Honestly, it's not anything I would even consider thinking about right now. Just in a sense of our preparation being to try to stop the things that they do. I think it did get out of hand in Lubbock, and maybe they were on a different mental place, or in a different mental place than they are now. But when you watch teams play, I mean, you can typically kind of tell what kind of game you think it will be based on how they're performing in the moment. And I would say the first thing that's jumped out at me is that they seem to be playing with more purpose. Just, again, more time with the coach, with Shimmy, that became an interim midstream, and I just think that they feel more comfortable, or they look more comfortable, and they have been much more competitive in their last few games. So I don't anticipate it being that type of game where I can say, oh, well, we're just going to work on things that don't pertain to this game. I don't anticipate that.
Is Joyner starting tomorrow?
Tentatively, yes. I mean, I always like to see how practice is before. I mean, it's been a consistent lineup because those 5 players have been the most consistent on a daily basis. If you took one of those 5 out, it would be a probably day-by-day basis on who takes, and a matchup. Maybe even a matchup situation in games where you would look to see who you go to. I mean, if we were playing a team that didn't have 2 traditional posts, I wouldn't have a hesitation at all to put Shug in the lineup, just based on how she's performed. But again, we're playing a team that's got 2 big post players that they're going to try to pound the ball into inside. So we're going to have to start with a post presence.
Is there a different mindset for a player starting rather than coming off the bench?
I think so. I definitely think there's a different mindset when you start, because you know that you're expected to play with consistency. That's what starters do. I mean, a lot of people think starters are the most talented, or the ones that coaches like the most, and all kinds of things like that. But honestly, starters are the people that are the most consistent every day in practice. So that's why it could be a game time decision. It could be a day, let me see how practice goes this week decision when we talk about putting someone else in a starting lineup.
I think it was last game here, and maybe a few others, where Ariel gets that first foul in the first quarter, and you take her out briefly. Is that to talk to her about don't do something to get the second, or just?
No, I don't talk to her.
Use the clock a little?
It's to use the clock. Just to make sure. And again, I feel very comfortable with whenever I put Shug in. I feel comfortable with that, and I think Jade is playing better basketball right now, and I thought Callie gave us a lift. So we're in a position where I shouldn't roll the dice and her get a quick one right after that, and then now we've got her sitting for a really long time. I mean, that's not a good thing for our team, for Ariel to sit very long.
You mentioned Tina, obviously a prolific career in the WNBA, but just how much does she bring to this team from a coaching aspect?
I think Tina brings a lot to our program in so many different areas. I mean, coaching, obviously, she knows the ins and outs of the power forward position, and really just the game in general. I mean, she has a lot of knowledge about different aspects of the game from all of her experiences, so she brings a lot to the table as far as that's concerned. I mean, I think she's definitely someone you can take in home, and parents listen and players listen to what she has to say when she goes on an in-home visit. I think probably if I could pinpoint one thing that have found to be really, really valuable is just her mentorship and her ability to talk to these young people. And I say this all of the time, and I think I heard somebody say this on the news the other day, or Sports Center or whatever it was, that head coaches are only really as good as their assistant coaches, in a sense of the troubleshooting, and everything's not going to be unicorns and rainbows, as Ariel would say. And when you need someone to talk to and bounce things off of, I think the assistant coaches are the ones that really have to help those guys through moments that they're having trouble. And I would say that Tina's really, really good at that. She does a great job in giving them the real stuff about what it is they need to be doing.
How much did you know about her? I mean, she spent most 16 years or whatever was playing.
Yeah.
What did you know that in anticipation that she would be good at this?
I honestly didn't know a lot about Tina other than what I had followed throughout her career. I mean, we did not have any kind of relationship at all, and I think I've mentioned this before, but she had been mentoring Jordan Hosey down in Houston a little bit. She's very good friends with Jordan's club coach, and she just kind of took a liking to Jordan in a sense that she thought maybe she could help her, and so those messages were coming back to me in a way that I could tell that she was making a difference in Jordan. So, I mean, it was sort of a leap of faith as far as me picking up the phone and saying, hey, would you be interested in coaching? And, I mean, if she probably would tell you that she didn't even know. Is this something I would like? Is this something I would be good at? I guess she probably thinks she could be good at it for sure, since she was such a phenomenal player. But I do think that anytime you jump into the coaching field, it's not one of those things that you're like, okay, am I going to like this or be good at it until you actually do it. In particular, recruiting. Recruiting is not a science, so it's something that you kind of have to dive into to know whether you're going to like it or not.
Coach, how hard is it to get your players to block out what they did in Lubbock? I know you say that you expect it to be competitive, but that has to come in their mind that it was kind of easy.
I think it is hard. I mean, I could sit here and say the coach speak about that, but I do think it's hard. And you can show them film and let them, they can see scores. I mean, obviously the West Virginia game was extremely close 3 days ago. So you can show them all that you want to, but I think they have to get out there and experience it, and experience the fact that, hey, this is a competitive team, and this is a team that wants to win just as bad as we do. They're hungry. And the only thing I can do as a coach is continue to stretch them, and challenge them in practice. I mean, they are challenged in practice every day by each other, but leadership comes into play, and that's why I feel very comfortable with where we are, is because I do feel confident in our leadership.
Jordan Hosey obviously was a big star in high school, and she seems like very unselfish on the bench. She's always cheering. Do you need players like that who don't care how many minutes, just whenever I play, I'm going to give it all I got? Is she one of your better players as far as that goes?
I think she is. I mean, I don't want to. I mean, I think all of our players care how much they play.
Right.
I don't think they would be at Texas if they didn't care. So she does care. But what she has done is given up herself for the team, because I think that she understands through the evolution of learning that it's not about her. And there's times when I'm sure that she thinks she could do better than whoever's out there. But what she has done is completely sacrificed herself so that our team can be successful, and that has allowed her to free kind of her mind up, that when she goes in, she has accepted the responsibility of whatever her job is that day, And I think that that's made her more successful as of late, is that I'm going to find a couple of things that I can do pretty well. I mean, maybe watching Audrey helped a couple of them, except the fact that everybody's not going to have the same role. Because Audrey is a bit of a selfless player where, you know, I'm going to do a little bit of the dirty work and block out and rebound and possibly guard the other team's best post player because that's what my team needs me to do. And I think Jordan has embraced that also.
Does she ask you? I know Tina has told her some steps she needs to. Does a player like in her position just come to you and say, "What do I need to do?"
She
to
definitely
get more
is.
Time?
She's definitely one of those that feels comfortable to do that. Again, she's a junior, so she's not afraid to have conversations with the coach. And I think that she's very comfortable in saying, you know what do you need me to do? And, you know, she's come in and watched film with me. And I think those are things that's helped her grow. And she's in better shape physically and mentally than she was last year. She was coming off of an injury, and you know, sometimes when players come off of injuries, it takes them a while to sort of find themselves again.
Tina was here last week in your place, and she said she really does aspire to be a head coach someday.
Mm-hmm.
She's been here, 3 years now? What has she done during that time to lead you to believe that she can be a successful head coach?
I just think she has leadership skills. Again, there's a lot that goes into being a head coach. But I think that there's a lot of, there's certain intangibles that are needed. Knowledge of the game, work ethic, attention to detail. There's a lot of qualities that I think head coaches need to have, and she checks a lot of those boxes. So there's no question in my mind. And again, I wish that you had a crystal ball and I could give her a timeline and say, let's do this thing together for a certain amount of years. But I'm also realistic about the fact that, I've lost 2 assistant coaches already to head jobs, and I don't want people here that don't aspire to be head coaches, really, because I think that drives you.
Coach Aston, what's been one of the biggest changes in your team since the last time that y'all played Texas Tech?
Well, Riley, I think we've gotten better on defense. The players probably wouldn't tell you that I think that based on our film session yesterday of the first half of the K-State game. But I do think that we've gotten more connected defensively. I think our help is better, and overall I think we're a little bit more sound defensively than we were probably when we played them before.
Coach Joyner isn't coming off an injury, but is she starting to find herself again?
She might as well have come off an injury. And that was sort of how we got her through the process that she went through, which was, this is really no different than a player that is out of commission for X amount of months. And it does take time to find yourself. And I still think that is a bit of a process for her that will be ongoing the whole entire time that she's here. But I think I said this to her, and I've said it to you guys, that I felt like my timeline for her to start to find herself was around the second week of February. And here we are. So she's really on track for what I thought she would do. I think she wasn't on track for what everybody else thought, and maybe even her own self. But I thought that if she could start to look like her old self a little bit by the second week of February, then that would lead to some really promising things potentially in March.
She mentioned when we've asked her the games where she was willing to go inside more. She mentioned matchups. What do you do to get her to maybe do that against Baylor, where it's, where she's not bigger than the people she's playing against?
Honestly, she better do it tomorrow night against those 2 trees we're playing up against tomorrow night. So we play 2 trees tomorrow night, and we play 2 trees on Saturday. That all of our players collectively are going to have to battle against. If you go down, maybe besides Iowa State, who doesn't necessarily have a traditional post, the games that we have left all have post presence.
Shouldn't her, the way she can handle the ball and quickness, give her an advantage even if she is playing against some taller kids?
I think the issue for that is that until she consistently shoots the perimeter shot, that quickness is sort of negated. Just to be honest with you, until you can really step out and shoot the basketball with consistency and confidence, which I think she's starting to get there. You can't really drag the bigs out too much.
You have a timetable for Audrey?
I do not. She will definitely not play tomorrow.